At 95, Clint Eastwood is finally opening up about one of the most intimidating and influential figures he ever met, Jack Palance. Eastwood's career has always been defined by quiet strength, rugged independence, and uncompromising authenticity. But behind that stoic image lies a man shaped by the people he worked with, men like Palance who brought raw intensity and fearless realism to the screen. For decades, Eastwood remained largely silent about his relationship with Palance, leaving fans to speculate about what the two legendary actors truly thought of each other. Now, with the clarity that only time can bring, Eastwood is speaking honestly about Palance's intimidating presence, his demanding craft, and the lessons that shaped Eastwood's own approach to acting and directing. This is not a story of gossip or myth, but of respect, influence, and the passing of an era. Humble beginnings and a relentless drive. Clint Eastwood was born Clinton Eastwood Jr. on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco. His childhood was marked by the lingering hardship of the Great Depression, and his family moved often across California as his father searched for steady work. Despite the instability, Eastwood developed a strong sense of self-reliance early on. He was tall, athletic, and quietly observant, qualities that would later define his iconic screen presence. After high school, Eastwood worked a series of blue-collar jobs, including lifeguard and lumberjack, before being drafted into the Army during the Korean War. These years shaped his disciplined, stoic personality and informed the realistic toughness he later brought to film. Eastwood's path to acting was accidental, yet it was also inevitable. After his military service, he studied drama at Los Angeles City College, and a chance encounter with a Universal Studios assistant led to a screen test that launched his career. Rawhide and the rise of a television star, Eastwood's first major success came with the television western Rawhide, where he played Rowdy Yates. The show ran for 8 seasons and made him a familiar face in households across America. But the role also frustrated him. He felt trapped in the wholesome, eager young cowboy persona and longed for something deeper. He wanted characters that were more complex, more morally ambiguous, and more real. That opportunity arrived when Italian director Sergio Leone cast him in the Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These films transformed the Western genre and turned Eastwood into an international icon. His Man with No Name became legendary. Minimal dialogue, intense eyes, and a mysterious moral code. This was the beginning of Eastwood's signature style, powerful, understated, and brutally honest. A director is born. The 1970s marked Eastwood's transition from actor to director, a shift that would define his legacy. His early directorial work, including Play Misty for Me and High Plains Drifter, revealed a surprising sensitivity and artistic depth. He became fascinated by moral ambiguity, human flaws, and the gray areas of justice. Eastwood wasn't interested in simple heroes or villains. He wanted real people, real struggles, and real consequences. In Dirty Harry, he played the tough, rule-bending detective Harry Callahan, a role that solidified his reputation as an anti-establishment icon. The film's success spawned sequels and immortalized lines like, "Go ahead, make my day." Yet Eastwood's directorial ambitions continued to evolve. His films grew darker, more introspective, and more emotionally complex. By the 1990s, he was recognized as one of cinema's greatest directors, with Unforgiven winning multiple Oscars and redefining the Western genre for a modern audience. The personal life behind the myth. Eastwood's personal life has always been complicated, reflecting the same contradictions seen in his films. His first marriage was to Maggie Johnson, whom he met in the early 1950s when he was still a struggling actor. They married in 1953, before fame had found him. Maggie stood by him through his rise, providing stability while Eastwood pursued his career. Their marriage lasted over 3 decades, but it was marked by separations, reconciliations, and Eastwood's growing restlessness. Infidelities and distance eventually strained the relationship beyond repair. Though they remained legally married until 1984, the couple had long lived separate lives. Maggie's role in Eastwood's early years, however, cannot be understated. She was there when he had little, and her support helped him reach the heights he eventually achieved. Their story is a reminder that even legends begin with ordinary people and ordinary struggles. A second chapter: love and family. After more than a decade of bachelorhood, Eastwood entered a second marriage with Dina Ruiz, a television news anchor nearly 35 years his junior. They met in 1993 during an interview about Unforgiven, and the connection was immediate. The marriage in 1996 marked a new chapter in Eastwood's life, one characterized by unexpected tenderness and a deeper sense of companionship. They welcomed a daughter, Morgan, and settled in Carmel, California, where Eastwood later served as mayor. Ruiz brought calm to his life, and for a time, it seemed he had found stability. Their relationship was also more public, especially with the reality series Mrs. Eastwood and Company in 2012. But as the years passed, differences in age, lifestyle, and priorities grew. Eastwood remained devoted to his work, while Ruiz sought more personal engagement and family time. Their marriage ended in divorce in 2014, after nearly 2 decades together, leaving Eastwood once again in the quiet solitude he has often preferred. Meeting Jack Palance, the first impression. At 95, Eastwood now reflects on his relationship with Jack Palance, a man whose reputation for intensity and unpredictability preceded him. When Eastwood first met Palance, he didn't know what to expect. Palance was legendary for his tough exterior and volatile energy, and many in Hollywood feared him. But Eastwood's first impression wasn't simply intimidation. He saw something deeper. Palance was a man who took his craft seriously, so seriously that he didn't tolerate fake emotions or lazy performances. Eastwood remembers one moment in particular. Palance told him, "Kid, never fake fear. Either feel it or don't do the scene." That advice stayed with Eastwood for decades. It became a guiding principle in his approach to acting and directing. Palance demanded truth, not theatricality. And that honesty, Eastwood admits, was rare. The intensity behind the talent. Eastwood acknowledges that working with Palance could be intimidating. He never knew which version of the actor would appear on a given day. Sometimes Palance was charming and humorous, other times he was dark, almost confrontational. But Eastwood insists that this unpredictability was not an act. It was the essence of Palance's power. It was what made him unforgettable on screen. Palance carried himself like a man from another era, one where actors didn't need special effects or marketing to create fear or respect. He simply walked into a room and the atmosphere changed. Eastwood respects that. He recognizes that Palance's volatility was part of his greatness, and he believes it was also part of what made Palance difficult for some people. But for Eastwood, the difficulty was worth it. The myth versus. The man over time, Palance developed a reputation for being difficult. Eastwood now says that label is misleading. Palance wasn't hard to work with. He simply refused to accept mediocrity. He expected everyone to bring their best, and he didn't hide his disappointment when they didn't. In that sense, he was a perfectionist. Eastwood respects that. He sees Palance as a man who cared about craft more than comfort. And in a world where many actors chase fame, Palance chased truth. He didn't want to be liked. He wanted to be real. Eastwood's own career has followed a similar path. He's never sought popularity for its own sake. He sought authenticity, even when it's uncomfortable or controversial. Palance taught him that the best work comes from honesty, not performance. A final reflection on an era. In the twilight of his life, Eastwood's reflections on Palance are more than personal memories. They are a tribute to an era that is disappearing. Eastwood believes Hollywood used to be filled with actors like Palance, men who lived their roles, who brought mystery and danger into every performance, and who never pretended to be anything they were not. He reminded me that authenticity is everything, Eastwood says, and in this business, that's the hardest thing to hold on to. Eastwood's own legacy, built on grit, restraint, and moral complexity, owes a debt to men like Palance. They were the kind of performers who didn't just play tough characters, they embodied them. And Eastwood believes that kind of raw talent may never be seen again. Outro. The truth that time reveals. At 95, Clint Eastwood is finally telling the truth about Jack Palance, not as gossip, but as a tribute. Palance was not just a co-star or a legend. He was a teacher who demanded honesty and refused to accept anything less than real emotion. Eastwood's memories reveal a man whose intensity was not an act, but a way of life. And in revealing this, Eastwood also reveals something about himself, that his own power as an artist was shaped by the influence of those who came before him. Palance was one of those men, a rare, dangerous, brilliant figure who helped define a golden era of Hollywood. And now, with the clarity of age, Eastwood honors him as he always should have, with respect, admiration, and the truth.